Your own ambassador, the person you appointed, Robert Ford, to Syria, resigned, and he told me in his first interview that he did so in protest and on principle because he could no longer defend the Obama administration's policy. And we see where we are in the world because of this. I want to ask you, should you have tried harder? You were surrounded by the top national security people on a mission to stop terrorism. Should you have pushed harder?
We pushed very hard, but as I say in my book, I believe that Harry Truman was right. The buck stops with the president, and the president had very legitimate concerns. And you know, Robert Ford, as I mentioned earlier, was an exemplary ambassador. He did just an extraordinary job until we had to pull him out because of the danger. And I think in some of his interviews, even with you, he said the State Department was pushing,
State Department, correct. But he said nobody else was listening. He said the White House wasn't listening.
Well, we did, as I said, create a proposal that both the CIA and the Department of Defense supported. But I want to hasten
Would you do that? Would you do it in the future?
Of course, I would always speak out. I would always
go back again and, you know, arm and train.
Well, I said we should have done it, you know, 2+ years ago. But I want to be very clear. These are difficult, hard choices. If it was so self-evident that everybody should have done this, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about what we didn't do, but we might be talking about consequences of what we did do. So you have people making these choices with imperfect information, trying to figure out what they hope will happen, what might happen, how to guard against contingencies. So clearly—
To be fair, though, your own husband, President Clinton, said a couple of years ago, the longer you leave it, the more space for the bad actors. And to be fair, many of your own officials who we've just talked about, plus UN officials, have been warning about this backlash for a long, long time. Well, and most people believe that this is precisely what would happen. If terrorism and stopping terrorism is America's fundamental national security prerogative, was this a failure?
Well, I think it's too soon to tell, but let me just quickly add that originally this was a rebellion by Syrians themselves. And it was clearly Assad's goal to turn it into a battle with terrorists. There weren't terrorists initially. And what has happened, partly because of the brutality of the Assad regime, and also the conflict, the proxy conflict between Iran and others in the region, you had, unfortunately, money and equipment going to extremists. And so this problem was made much worse. Now, if we had gone in earlier and tried to help the so-called moderates, I'm not sure that it would have turned the tide. But I believed then that it was important for us to make clear that we were going to try to support them against Assad and also fill the vacuum that would be created in that territory.
Which we're witnessing right now.
Well, and we are witnessing right now.